In today's lesson, we're actually working on a new skill, which is a skill for nonfiction. That's why it's RI, informational. So it's an informational reading strategy, and it's determining the central or main idea of an informational text, including its relationship to details. So we're going to be taking an article called Refugees, Who, Where, and Why, and it's an article in My Big Campus under Resources, Inside Out and Back Again. So you go to Resources, Inside Out and Back Again, and it'll be under the date for today. It's called Refugees PDF. Click on that, and this is what it looks like. So as you can see, it's cut up into sections where there's a paragraph and a box, a paragraph and a box. So you can go ahead and open this up in Notability, or you could come and grab a paper copy. There should be paper copies in the classroom available to you in the missing work folder. So to feel more comfortable writing, you can do that, or you could open it in Notability right now. And all we're going to do is read a paragraph, and then in the box, we're going to write a main idea, or the gist, or central idea. They all mean the same thing. So kind of like we did with a poem in the beginning of the year, Annabelle Lee, we're going to say what just happened in that paragraph, and we're going to go ahead and write a central idea. So I'm going to do a couple of these together with you on the video, and then you'll do the rest on your own. So, refugees, who, where, and why. Attila the Hun invaded Western Europe, pillaging the Italian peninsula in AD 452. Thousands of inhabitants of the Italian countryside fled their homes and sought refuge on neighboring islands in the Adriatic Sea. This was certainly not the first example of people forced to flee their homes, and unfortunately it was not the last. Today, more than 14 million men, women, and children have been forced to flee their homes, towns, and countries because they are afraid to stay. We call these people refugees. In 1951, the United Nations defined a refugee as a person who, owing to a well-founded fear of being persecuted for reasons of race, religion, nationality, membership in a particular social group, or political opinion, is outside the country of his nationality, and is unable to, or, owing to such fear, unwilling to avail himself of the protection of that country. Refugees are just people just like us. Grandparents, mothers, fathers, children, students, secretaries, store clerks, teachers, accountants, and doctors. Okay, it's the end of the first section. So we have to say, what is this mainly about? And when you're doing a main idea, it's a full sentence that sums up the entire paragraph, not just one little part of the paragraph, the entire thing. So if I ask you what's this mainly about, and you say refugees, that's not a main idea because it's not a complete sentence. If you say, oh, this is about Attila the Hun invading Western Europe, that's not the main idea because it's only one part of the whole paragraph. So we want a sentence that's a complete sentence that encompasses the entire paragraph. So when we try to figure out the main idea, we first have to kind of cut it up into chunks and make sure we're getting all of the parts of the paragraph represented. So the first part was kind of the history. If you notice that, talked about different refugees in history. I'm going to highlight everything that had the history. Okay, then it talked about what a refugee is. So I'm going to highlight all this stuff, what a refugee is. Big, long definition. So we have to make a sentence that talks about not only what a refugee is, but also the fact that they've been around for a long time. So what I'm going to say is refugees Okay. So, that would be the gist of that section. Refugees who have been around us for a significant time are people who are forced to flee the country. So, in order to figure out the main idea, I first tried to see what the whole paragraph was about, and then I made one full sentence. So, let's try the next one together. And then you're going to be on your own. Let's get rid of this. Okay, refugees are protected by international law and have special rights, such as the right to safe asylum. In ancient times, churches and temples were often used as places of asylum. Today, asylum is typically another country. In a country of asylum, refugees have the right to be treated the same as legal residents and as such are entitled to basic civil rights, medical care, and schooling. Today, half of all refugees worldwide come from 3 locations: Afghanistan, Iraq, Palestine, currently occupied by Israel. Asia is the number 1 source of refugees, followed by Africa and Europe. So, what did this paragraph talk about? It first talked about asylum, countries of asylum, meaning an asylum is a place a refugee goes. And then it talked about where most refugees come from. So I need a sentence that talks about countries of asylum and where most refugees come from. So, I put refugees mostly come from Asia, Africa, and Europe and go to a country of asylum where they are treated like a legal resident. So that talked about the asylum, and it also talked about where refugees come from. Okay, let's try to do one more together before you're on your own. Many countries are hosts to large numbers of refugees. The largest numbers of refugees are found in Iran and Pakistan, with more than 1 million each. Germany shelters nearly 1 million refugees, and Tanzania hosts more than 620,000. The Palestinians, who represent one of the largest groups of refugees, are found in host countries throughout the world. Once inside a host country's borders, refugees must find shelter, sometimes within another family's home, but more often in a refugee camp. Refugee camps are typically located outside of cities or towns along the border of the host country. Kakuma Camp, on the hot, dry border of Kenya, Sudan, and Ethiopia, provides shelter for more than 80,000 refugees. Refugees share small huts that are made of tree branches, mud, and plastic sheeting. Food and water are provided, but they are rationed. A hospital and several clinics provide health care, but these are overburdened with many patients. Most refugees are sick and malnourished when they arrive. schooling is provided for the children, but classes are very overcrowded. Refugee camps are not meant to be permanent shelters, but they do provide asylum and protection and take care of the basic needs of refugees. So we ask ourselves, what was this all about? First, it talked about countries that host refugees. Then it talked about the conditions in the camps. So we need to make a sentence that talks about host countries and the conditions in the camp. So we'll say refugees said refugees go to refugee camps in countries like Iran and Pakistan which don't have the best conditions. So pretty much was the gist of what that paragraph was talking about. So what you're going to do is go through the rest of this article on your own, and in each box you're going to write the gist or the main idea. Now, when you get to the end, there's a box right here that says, what is this mostly about? You have to take all of your central ideas that you've written already, and you have to come up with one big main idea for the whole article. So when you're done with that, you're going to go back to the Inside Out and Back Again resources and grab something called Summary Graphic Organizer. And this is the homework. So you're going to write whatever you wrote here for your topic sentence here. And then if you notice, there's 6 boxes for details, and you're going to go in order. This is the 6 boxes you wrote. So that'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then you have to write a conclusion sentence all on your own. And that's going to be your homework. So that was page 21 in the packet if you want a paper copy. And that's going to be collected next class. So that's your homework, along with some reading, which is 150 to 176. That's your reading homework. And to finish the summary sheet. And that's it for this lesson.